check-ins, and there you go. Hello to those tuning in, listening in at Old Tube Radio Live as we commence to begin our shortwave listener check-ins here at oldtuberadio.net. On the stream, 27085 is the frequency where we are at in Central California. And wherever you are tonight, we'd like to hear from you on your tube radios. Starting off with the roll call, if I can locate the roll call sheet. We are halfway through week 4 for the 17th day of November, looking for SWL 00.
Hello, Dennis. 00 checking in.
You are sounding good, Mr. Belair. Let me get you checked in. That'll get us started off here. We'll put up the S meter on the live stream, and everybody will be able to see, give themselves a radio check. We'll catch you at 53 as well. Thanks, Bob. And we'll also display the check-ins on the Old Tube Radio page so you can get a confirmation of being checked in as well. SWL number 1, of course, with the check-in. SWL number 2, who is waving a hand from the Old Tube Radio chair at the live stream over on YouTube. Mr. OBP, looking good, Kevin, and thanks for being there tonight. SWL 3. SWL, I'm going to get 3 checked in via proxy here, because he is out there somewhere. SWL 4. SWL 5, I saw Ida today. And she says, say hello to all the tube radio operators and shortwave listeners. SWL 6. SWL 7. Takes us up to 11 and 12. Jim and Lisa, who checked in via email. That will take us to SWL 13. Mr. Cobra, who sometimes checks in at oldtuberadio.net, which is a good way to do it if you would like to do it that way. And we'll keep an eye out for stations checking in over there. Over to SWL 14. SWL 15. SWL 16. Shortwave listener 17. SWL 18. SWL 19. SWL 20.
Number 20 here. Check in 29. And we'll be back after a while.
All right, yeah, turn on everything in the shack because it's cold out there tonight. Well, you'll be a little more comfortable when you return. Sounding good. We've got you checked in, and we'll get 29 at the appropriate time.
My tubes have little Christmas hats on them.
They are already prepared, just like, where was I at? Costco. It's got every imaginable Christmas item set up already, and it's not even Thanksgiving, so might as well deck the halls. Thank you, Harvey. Taking us to SWL 21, who has... Oh, there he is. No, that's he... Where is 21? I thought I saw... I thought I saw the Wasama Swamp out there, just double checking for South Carolina. Maybe not. You know, I tried to tune in the old radio night tonight, so maybe he is away from the shack. I'll keep an ear out. Over to SWL 22. SWL 23. Shortwave listener 24. SWL 24. Hello, Joseph. We've got you checked in. Thanks for listening. SWL 25.
Hello, Dennis. Sounding good as always. Have that studio quality to your audio. Anyway, good to hear you, Dennis, and thanks for checking in. Checking me in. Anyway, back to you.
Thank you. Big signal into Midtown, Fresno here this evening. You are sounding good, beaconing everywhere at oldtuberadio.net on the live stream and here at 27085. Not sure we're going to have any conditions tonight, but we will keep our fingers crossed. Let me go over to the big board and say hello to those listening everywhere from California to Big Ben in Liverpool. Probably not quite in the Radio Shack yet. Coming up to Dallas, Georgia. Hello, New York. Coming up to you. Coming up to Fayetteville, North Carolina. Moments away from Hendersonville. Also, Ray in Utah coming up. Who is Oasis? We got Ohio, New Jersey, Virginia. It looks like everybody is in there and more. So tell your friends, right? Tell your friends. Maybe they will hear their favorite radios tonight. I'm not sure what the check-ins will be like tonight with cold weather. Sometimes that brings people into the shack. Page 2 is where we're going for the directed net roll call, SWL 27. And I remember to listen, and the ear that is not on the headphone, you are sounding good. I've got you checked in, KV6GFD. And Mr. Dwayne over at the FM crossband frequency. He is also one of the net controllers on the Wednesday night net at 28445 on your upper sideband dial here in Central California. Anybody wants to listen into that, and if you are licensed, you may check into that when the conditions start happening. Might hear a lot of people. Thanks, Dwayne. Thanks for checking me in on Wednesday. I'm checking you in tonight. Over to SWL, we got to go to SWL 29, and we've got a proxy in for Mr. Loner. Over to SWL 30. SWL 31. Out there in Hendersonville, Robert and Teresa. Hopefully they've got enough tubes in the radio room to turn on to keep things warm and toasty there. Thanks for listening in the land of... that's the land of Elvis, I do believe, right? Over to SWL 32. SWL 33, myself and Bozo Control. I think the Jingle Singers are here tonight. We were testing out the patches earlier, and everything seemed to sound good. SWL 34. SWL 35. I see you, Bill, checking in from Cheyenne, Wyoming, where it is also getting cold and probably snowy, and you just never know. Bill is working on, he's got the radio trailer looking good. I think he's working on some antennas and things, so we just may be able to hear Bill on the voice mode somewhere, AM, FM, sideband, you name it. Thanks for listening in, Mr. Bill. Over to SWL 36. There is Roy. Romeo Oscar Yankee, as we say in amateur radio. Sounding good, Roy. We've got you checked in. And likewise, Thanksgiving coming up this Thursday. Turkey Day. I might actually not be working. That'll be different. SWL 37.
SWL 37 at checking in. And Dennis, which radio are you talking on tonight?
This is the standard issue old tube radio set. This is not the 1963 vintage.
Hey, well, it still sounds good.
All right. In fact, the other one is will be in my background, my blurry background video when I occasionally go to that.
Very well.
Got to have some radios on display, and that's a good one to have. Thank you, Chris Ford, checking in. SWL 39. SWL40.
SWL40 checking in.
40 checking in. It sounds quiet downtown. I don't hear trains or parties. That doesn't mean they're not happening, but you are sounding good. And there's Crazy Bob on the stream saying he finally got a Saturday night off. I know how that is, Bob. Crazy Bob works in the professional side of two-way radio as well, sort of a one-way radio, and I know how it is. When you work for places that do not close, right? You could be working at 3 in the morning, working on holidays, weekends. So, Bob, glad you could spend a little bit of time with us here on the two-way, and hope everything is going well out that way. Crazy Bob DJ, who is in charge, or one of the in-chargees of one of the vintage radio Facebook sites, which I frequent often to get information. Over to SWL41. SWL42.
Good evening, Dennis. 42 here checking in. Get a triple play for 90 and 137.
Can do. On the big radio tonight with like 29 and a half over S9. That's sounding good. It might be parallax. It might be 30. I'm just off to the side of the radio, so I'll give you a 29 and a half just to be accurate here. Thanks, Jerry, and we'll get the rest of the gang checked in. SWL43 checked in earlier, sounding really good. Might be listening in in front of the toasty fireplace. But we do have you checked in. And OBP mentioning we have 3 sunspots on the sun at this time. I've heard some people saying that occasionally the bands will open up depending on where you are at. Also heard someone say that there is meteor activity tonight. So maybe those of you who do meteor scatter might be out there doing something special. Over to SWL44, who needs no meteor scatter to be heard here at the Old Tube Radio Network up there in Utah, where he said they did get a dusting of snow or something like it. Hello, Ray. Thanks for tuning in as always. Let's go over to North Fork, where there isn't any snow yet, but I bet it is pretty cold. SWL45.
Hi, a little noisy up here. Before you make it through, it's fine. Back to 45.
All right, you're sounding good too. The loud audio on that radio. We'll find out coming up what you're doing and what you're talking about. Sounds good, and thanks for tuning in tonight.
Thank you.
Sounds like you're mobile, flying in an airplane or something. We'll find out what that's all about. 45 check-in. How about SWL 46? SWL 47?
Well, it certainly feels good after such a long time to say greetings from the Radio Lounge, SWL 47.
And greetings. I was thinking, maybe I should have checked my email yet again, but I see you are live in front of the microphonium. So X in the square. Hope all is well and that you are in the warm spot of the radio room here.
75 degrees with the pellet stove running and those lots of tubes heating the lounge up as well.
Good deal. The tubes have brought me up to 68 degrees, so we're not too far behind. You are sounding good, and thanks for checking in. SWL 48. Sometimes 48 will make it in over at oldtuberadio.net. I would keep an eye out for Sam, SWL 49. And hello to our new listeners. Oakland, North Fork, Auberry, Antelope. Where's Antelope, California? 95. Oh, my. I hope you guys are not getting too much smoke up there in Antelope. And the Steve and Bob Show, out of Ohio. They're in Westchester and Oxford. Listening in. Fresno State is winning again. Are we playing tonight? Maybe that's where everybody is. Oh, that's good. That's right. They're, well, hopefully they'll keep winning. Thanks for the score updates. How about SWL 50? SWL 51.
51 checking in.
5-1, Dr. Dave. Hello, sir. Sounding good as always on your Old Tube Radio Network. Thanks for checking in.
Thank you, Dennis. Have a good evening.
SWL 52. The guy that got us started off is 00, SWL 53.
Hello, Dennis. 53 checking in.
It's the 2-for-1 special, at least for another 4 weeks. Thanks, Mr. Belair.
You're welcome.
Page 3 for playing the home game, looking for SWL 54. SWL 55. Where it is no doubt a little bit chilly up there at the 4,500 foot mark, wherever M&M is at. How about SWL 56?
Good evening, Dennis and Annette. 56, just for kicks.
And I could use a couple. No, I don't need any kicks. I don't need any kicks at the moment. I think I'll do fine, but we'll see. Thank you, Phil. Next is SWL 57. SWL 59. SWL 60.
Hello, Dennis. Doggone it, you're sounding choice, boy. Really choice this evening. And the old dogs look like they're struggling in a real dogfight, 7-7. And it looks like San Diego's still got the ball. Yeah, SWL 60 checking in this 291 base, the DX 2527.
Looking good on the S meter. Putting the S meter up for anybody giving themselves a radio report here. And Mr. 291 is sitting back and saying, what did you expect from that radio? It's got to be good. Thanks, Joe.
You're welcome.
SWL 61.
51 checking in, Dennis.
Way over the noise level tonight. Sounding good, Dean. We've got you checked in on the Old Tube Radio Network.
Thank you, sir.
Let's see how things are running out in beautiful downtown, Old Town Clovis, SWL 62. And I believe that was you, Rex. Audio is still way down, and likewise for the signal. But on time and on frequency, you get the job done. I've got you checked in over. Let's go to SWL 63, and I do believe I saw New York on the big list early on. Yeah, near the up there in the front row. Thank you, BB. We get to get you guys checked in. Over to SWL 64. Shortwave listener 65. SWL 66. SWL 67. SWL 68. see Texas online. How about a little closer to home, SWL 69?
69 checking in, Dennis, Mustang 2.
The Mustang 2 does not disappoint and does not fail. Sounding good tonight. Thanks, Ken. SWL 70.
Hello, Dennis. 70 checking on this realistic Tango Romeo Charlie 451. Back to that.
The old TRC 451. I think back in the day, Radio Shack came out with a new update about every 6 months on whatever they had. And most of them actually do get good reviews. Thanks for jumping to the Radio Shack tonight and waving a hand.
Roger, over.
SWL 71 out there in the Dallas, GA. I did see, and he's in the front row tonight too. Getting a good view of whatever is supposed to be happening tonight. That's Stan. Always gives us some great information on our tube radios as they check in. Thanks for listening in tonight, Stan. Let's go over to SWL 72. SWL 73.
I give him a proxy. I heard him talk to him on the radio the other day.
Actually, I may have heard him mobile on the 2-meter frequency. And I did see him last week at the swap meet as well. So we'll get MI checked in there. How about SWL 74? I think I'm supposed to give 74 a proxy check-in, and I will do that. SWL 75. SWL 77.
Hello, Dennis, and hello to all the listeners. 77 on the old Tower of Power out of the Tower District, waving a hand.
And now with more altitude, so we can be heard in far up places like Ripperden, Yedham, Riverdale, and Dunlap, and amongst others. Sounding good, Dennis. 77 is in. How about SWL 78? I heard this guy earlier. If he's still around on the AM side, SWL 79. Well, I'll get him checked in anyway. Saving my eardrums. SWL 80. Let's go to page 4 and look for SWL 81. SWL 82. We must be watching that game. SWL 84.
Hey, 84. Good evening, Dennis, and I hope all's well there in the studio. And if you could check in on my girls, I would really appreciate it. Roger.
Can do. You are sounding good on the radio tonight. Good to have you along for the ride here on the Old Tube Radio Network, and I will put you officially on the big board and on the paper as well. Thanks.
Roger. Appreciate it, Dennis.
SWL 85. And we've got the triple play here. SWL 86, SWL 87, SWL 88, Mountain Maid, Tandy Girl, and Snowy Owl, respectively, checking in. SWL 89. I've got a note here, 89. Oh, yeah, 89 checked in via Facebook, so I'll get Darren checked in that way. Over to SWL 90. We've got a check-in for 90. SWL 92. Maybe I'm not making it out to Madera tonight. How about SWL 93?
SWL 93 checking in, and good evening to all the SWLs out there, and happy Thanksgiving to all.
Thanks, Louie. Glad you can run into the radio room. I know you're a busy guy, so always appreciate when you can get to the microphonium and say hello, radio, to the Old Tube Radio Network. Thanks. SWL 98. SWL 109. SWL 110. SWL 111. I think I've got a note here to check in 111, and I will do that. Get Robert checked in. Over to SWL 113. SWL 114.
114 checking in.
114. There's the green light. I have a little window here on the computer, and when it lights up in green, that means I have officially checked in 114. Thanks, Wayne.
Thank you for the check-in.
Who was the other station checking in? 111. Hello, radio. Sounding good here into Midtown Fresno tonight. Over. All right, glad I'm making it through the noise. At least on the internet, you're doing fine over the airwaves tonight. SWL 111 checked in. 114 is in, taking us over to oldtuberadio.net on the big board. SWL 128, John Lee in Fairfax, Virginia, should be out there tonight. I did see him on the board earlier. I'm pretty sure. I think my glasses are failing me here tonight. Well, I saw 120. I'll just double check that we've got Fairfax in there. VA. Oh, you know what? I think you're showing up as Centerville, which sometimes does happen. We've got you checked in. And he says that they had a couple of inches of snow earlier this week, unusual for his area in November. That's what's happening. We were getting warmer weather, and the jet stream was moving down and getting everybody else colder weather. And 70... Let's see, where are we at? 128 is in. Oh, I know. How about SWL 131?
Station.
And the station. I heard him earlier, and somehow the alarm went off a little bit late. Go ahead, station.
Extremely late on my part. Number 79, checking in.
Live and direct. Mr. DC, sounding good on the Old Tube Radio Network. We got you checked in.
Thank you, sir.
Did I mention that the Old Tube radios, those real radios that glow in the dark from 1958 to 1978, and your 11-meter Class D service will be parading across your S-meter speaker, whatever it is you have, your earbuds, in just moments, so stay tuned for that as we switch to the glow-in-the-dark radios after the roll call. Looking for SWL 133.
Hello, Dennis. 133 is checking in.
Good signal and good audio out there from Northwest Fresno. Thanks, Dave. SWL 135. SWL 137 with the proxy check in. And I did it again. I did it again to Mr. Cheesy Easy. Let's go back. Let's rewind. And we'll put the number up here so you can see it on the board. SWL 103.
Yeah, I'm here.
And you've got a big signal tonight. Give me another transmission. You're way up on the meter.
This is GZE 103 checking in.
All right, 103 with an S9. That's the best I've heard you. So you've got the station in tip-top shape tonight.
Good deal.
SWL 103. Jeez, he sounded good. 103 at the 103. Maybe he did some antenna work as well, like 77 did. We are looking for SWL 147. And 147 is in. Just had to find him on the sheet here. Make sure it is the right week. Yes, it is. In Kakalaki, lots of cold and rain as we have been getting reports from those in your area. Temps falling below 40. That'll do it. Traces of DX on 10 and 11 meters. OBP said we do have 3 sunspots, very small sunspots on the sun at this time. I'm assuming they're pointing towards the Earth, perhaps. Very spotty. Yeah, that's what happens when the sunspots are small. They will be getting larger here in the next couple of years. And Neil says he's actually home to turn on a radio, which is kind of fun. Birthday last Tuesday. So let's see. Mine was last Monday. And you got me beat. You got me beat by a year. So age before whatever, right? You win, Neil. Sounding good. Happy birthday to you, and thanks for tuning in the Old Tube Radio Network tonight. Another Scorpio. Who have we got? SWO 195 up in Coarsegold.
195 checking in, Dennis, and late happy birthday.
Hey, thanks. Well, it only happens once a year. I guess that's a good thing. I don't know. You're sounding good. Stay warm up there.
Thank you, sir.
And then over to SWL 226. And anybody that I might have missed or would like to come in and say something here, I'll be listening for a moment.
Soylent Green is people!
Thank you, Charlton. Well, it seems pretty quiet. So what I'm going to do is reset the audio stream. We will keep the video stream flowing and going, so nobody has to jump out of that. I want to say hello to the mighty KUH, Brian, who is tuning in probably from very cold, well, probably not in the Radio Shack. He's got a lot of tube sticks to keep things warmed up. And the mighty Juliet Whiskey in Zero Land, KJG 4755. Hello, John, to you. We were going to be checking in tube radios here in just a moment. I'll be back in a minute. Now, I've reset our audio stream for the archives. Looks good for tube radio check-ins. The video stream is there. Hello from the blurry control room camera. And as I find my tube radio list and sign in for November 17, 2018, I say this is the Old Tube Radio Network, listening for radio number 1.
45. 25.
And we have a winner and another winner. 25, jump into the green room. Make yourself at home. We will be right with you in a moment as Paul, SWL 45, the Falcon up in North Fork, steps up to the microphonium at 8:37. And Paul, I'm intrigued by your radio tonight and the audio. It almost sounds like you are in a jet airplane. You are very loud, but there's a lot of noise or something coming in the background. And maybe that's just the way it is. Over to you.
Well, maybe we just have to change microphones. I don't hear any noise in here besides I got my fan going for the heater, and that's about it. Anyway, this is General Radio Telephone Super MC11.
Wow. All right. General Radio Telephone Super MC11. We've got a great... Well, actually, I've got a picture of an 11A, which may be the shot we can get. Let me see if I actually have a Super MC11. Oh, I do. And it doesn't say it's from your collection, but I want to put it up because there are some differences between the 11 and the 11A. We'll put over to our radio camera. There it is, and we'll go back to you for a transmission. Over.
Okay. I don't believe that's my radio, but it could be. Sure looks like it. Anyway, it was the one that General Radio Telephone brought in or took in all of the 11s, and then they had an oscillation problem, an oscillator problem, and they went ahead and repaired that. And in the meantime, they put the logo on the front of the thing. And this radio looks exactly like the MC11A, but it doesn't have a logo on the front. So I'm pretty proud to have it. Not many of them around, I don't believe, because this was stuck through without just a repair. Back to you.
Yeah, I'm looking at the info. Serial number 110011 is the one we're showing. And I'm thinking there is something coming in probably internally from the radio on your audio. It's nice and loud. It definitely sounds like a General Radio Telephone Super MC series. The audio's nice. Not sure if you're running an amplified microphone. Maybe it's got too much gain. It just has kind of a rushing noise, like you were in a mobile with the window down, or you have... You've got the Kansas tornado coming through the window. I'm hearing you just fine, but I'm thinking that probably, since your location there is usually pretty quiet, it may be being introduced from the radio itself. Let's go back to you for another transmission.
Okay, right in front of the microphone, just back off the attention. So maybe that's giving me a hint to back off the attention. In the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and leave it get back to you. I'm going to pull another mic stick on here real fast.
Yeah, let's try that. No, when you back off, what happens is that noise is coming in no matter what. So you have to keep close enough to keep your modulation percentage up with the noise. And it's quite loud. So, but the radio, of course, makes your audio loud as well. So almost sounds like, and in fact, 44 is agreeing, it sounds like it's a squeal or some oscillation trying to start, or it's in its own oscillating way. Radio number one, the General Radio Telephone Super MC11, not the 11A, which we're used to hearing. I think Paul said he was going to see if we could find another microphonium to go with that, and we will see. That will tell us if it's radio generated or something the microphone doesn't like. OTR is listening to see if you get that microphone changed. Over.
Okay, this is the General Radio Telephone, stock CM3 Turner microphone.
Audio still sounds good. You still sound good, but the noise, the oscillation is still there. And I don't think it changed in gain or in volume at all. So it sounds like it might be something happening inside the radio, but other than that, nice signal, and you are loud, but I have a feeling that noise probably shouldn't be there.
Maybe this is why they pull all the generals in to just mix it with that noise in there. I put a new set of tubes in the thing a while back, and you clear it up real well. You said it was clear. I either got a weak tube or we have that modulation problem on the thing. Interesting. Anyway, thanks for checking in, Dennis.
Yeah, I might normally say that the gain on the radio would be adjusted too much, but you sound very similar to like all the general radios would sound, and that's with the stock microphones. They sound very loud, so possibly not an issue there. When you listen to the archives, you'll hear what I'm talking about. Again, I'm hearing you 100%, but I know what the noise level is in the Radio Shack over there, and that is certainly not something. If you were in that kind of a storm, you would be out battening down the hatches for sure. Radio number 1 on our list tonight, the General Radio Telephone Super MC11. And I'll point out here, one of the differences, and we'll probably have an 11A check-in tonight, somewhere in that area that I'm pointing to on the 11A, they put in the General Radio Telephone logo, which is conspicuously absent on the MC11. But definitely sounds like a General Radio Telephone. Thanks, Paul, for that check-in. Let's go to radio number 2 as SWL 25. Jerry is stepping up into the air chair. Over.
Well, Dennis, thank you very much for the hospitality in the green room. The Jingle Singers are getting warmed up, and thanks for having an ice cold ice chest full of beer and pretzels. But I do have one complaint. There's peanut butter and jelly on the armrest on the chair, so probably bozo. Anyway, real quick, how about checking in the Browning Golden Eagle Mark III SSB sidebander? Back to you.
I can do that, and I apologize. Typically, we try and keep bozo control out of the green room prior to the starting of the net, but sometimes I get busy and I don't monitor things the way I should. Radio number 2 online with the audio, 27085 in the Old Tube Radio Network and at oldtuberadio.net. You will hear the audio and see a picture of the Golden Eagle Mark III SSB in the stacked configuration, vertical. When you don't have a lot of space on your radio table, you can put them that way. Probably the preferable way is side by side, but I know Cliff stacked them that way to get them to be the proper aspect ratio for our photography. We'll go back to you, sir, and always good to hear the Browning on the Old Tube Radio Network.
Okay, Dennis, we are on the non-powered banana mic, and I have a guest here.
Hello, Mr. D. It's Miss Joe. 74. Checking in.
And as they say, bueno senor, or senorita for this possible item. Let me switch over to the SWL mode, and we will give 74 an official. I had originally put in a proxy check-in for you, but that is an official, not only an official SWL check-in, but coming through the great audio on the Browning. Over.
Okay, Dennis, so anyway, thanks for checking it in. Yeah, it's the lower sideband, upper sideband, 2-piece radio, spot button, and boy, all the meters are working. And on the non-powered banana mic. Anyway, thank you, Dennis, for doing what you do, and wonderful hearing you on Wednesday nights. And anyway, it's all good stuff. Anyway, back to you, Dennis.
Back to me in the studio. Sounding good. It always, you cannot go wrong when you have, and that's a stock audio, which on a Browning, the Generals and the Brownings pretty much knew how to configure their radio for non-amplified microphones to sound good. Not that you would need one at all. And that one doesn't. Thanks for bringing it in here at the Old Tube Radio Network. And I see the Jingle Singers are excited about our first 2 check-ins and would like to say something. So we'll let them do that.
How do you do? Ladies and gentlemen, greetings to you. Wherever you are, your favorite spot on the dial by phone.
Old Tube Radio Network.
The station for you is
OTR.
We're looking for radio number 3. And refreshing the comments here, Steve, to let you know what's going on with the California fires. Fresno is in the center of the state. We have the very bad and big Camp Fire. It's named Camp Fire up north of Sacramento. So that's north of us about 200 miles. And that is still raging, maybe 50% contained, and that is the one that you probably hear the most about on the news, that has become the most largest and deadliest fire in the state's history, which is still going on. Getting smoke from that, not too much. Where they're really getting it is in San Francisco. They were having air quality numbers that they have never had before, really horrible air out there. And the other fire, which I believe is more contained, was the one down in Southern California near Malibu, up in the hills in that area near Thousand Oaks. And that's, the smoke is going to the south of the state. So we're in between the two fires. We're getting some bad air quality smoke, but certainly not like they're getting near the fires or around San Francisco. So if you're going to be anywhere in the state, this is probably one of the better spots to be. And looks like Fresno State is still going. I don't know if we've got a 7-7 tie, but we'll get some updates on that. I think that's where everybody's at. The game seems like it's a nail-biter. We're looking for Radio 3.
37.
45. 25.
All right, I've got to get my notepad. 37, step up to the air chair. There was a station ending, and it wasn't 25, but there was another station ending in 5?
45.
45, all right. And we'll go with you next, Paul, and then 25 and Jerry. So we've sent the cleanup crew. I have sent the cleanup crew out to the green room. So hopefully, Paul and Jerry, your experience will be a little bit better than moments ago. Plus, I think they have refilled the cookie jar and the punch bowl. With that said, let me go over to our number 3 radio, and that would be from Chris, SWL 37. Hello there.
And hello, Dennis. And to the gentleman you was talking to about the fires and where we are located here in Fresno, when you said we were about in the center of Fresno, actually we're about 25, 27 miles off the dead center of California, which is to our northeast up there by North Fork area. But that's the dead center. I just thought I'd throw that in real quick, Dennis. But anyway, on top of that, and I'll watch somebody come in and say I'm wrong. But anyway, hey, I would like to check in my general radio telephone, my Super MC11A. This is the 24 version of all those generals there on this one here. You know, it's got that special 24th channel. And I am running this in here with a handheld stock microphone. Over.
And sounding good doing it. I'm writing down the details. And I think you are very correct with the... Oops, I just dropped my writing device. Hold on a second. Oh, I've got another one here. Let's see if that works. That'll keep me from having to unkey the radio. I think you are very correct with your assessment that the actual center of California is somewhere close to North Fork, and that's where our next station checking in will be, SWL 45. So what happened? Okay, now that I dropped the pen, my screens have all reset, so I must have done something really wacky here. Let me do this. Sorry for rambling. I see what happened. Those on the video are saying, what are you looking at? Okay, I think I've got that straight. Here, let me do this. Sorry
for
audio.
rambling.
Just let me turn off the audio.
I see what happened. Those on the video are saying, what are
We
you
have
looking
these
at?
technical
Okay, I think
problems.
that's
When you have more than radio. There we go. Save me, Chris. Over.
You sound like you're a little bit confused there for a minute. You sound like there was three of you talking at the same time.
There was at least two of me. I think I have fixed the issues, and we can start talking about radios again. I don't know if you were tuning in just moments ago when we started our radios, and Paul brought by the Super MC11, which sounded very loud. It all had a little oscillation in the audio, and now I've got a shot of the MC11A. And what I was pointing out before, between the channel selector and the S meter, on the 11, there is nothing but case, you know, the front of the radio there. And on the 11A, which we're showing now, you will see the GRT logo, which for some reason showed up in the MC11A. Over.
Yeah, that's the one I called Little Old Man in a Wheelchair with an IV next to him.
Which actually looks like that. The wheelchair part is the G. The R is part of the little head, I guess, and then the IV is the T. I think that's how it works. Very nice audio for non-amplified. We talked about that between General and Tram and Browning, pretty much making sure that their radios out of the box would play well with whatever microphone, non-amplified microphone you wanted to put with them.
Yeah. Well, you know, I've never put an amplified microphone on this here. Honestly, I don't think I need one. You know, I've heard the archives, and you know, like you say, this thing is loud. You know, there's, and you know, you've been here, you've seen exactly what I talk on. The microphone is what? Oh gosh, it's what? Smaller than your fist, doubled up. You know, it's a small microphone, but man, what it does.
Well, I'm sure the radio has a little bit to do with that, with the, what is it, ECLL 800 for the modulator output. And what was it? Oh, thanks, Ray. Yeah, rumor has it, going back to the exact center of the state, that there is some marker on Highway 99, a palm tree or a pine tree or something. I remember somebody mentioning that. So the myth continues as to where the center of the state is. So probably, if you want to say wherever you're at is the center of the state, unless you can prove otherwise, it's probably not a bad thing. Radio 3 online with us now from General Radio Telephone. It's the Super MC11A, probably their last, not their last radio that they put out, but maybe their last FCC type accepted radio. Still playing well here on the Old Tube Radio Network. We'll go back to you for transmission. I'm going to log you in at 8:52. And we've got, who's coming up next? Paul will be up next after you. So back to you, over.
Okay, and that tree that he was talking about down there on Highway 99 is down there close to, what, Visalia, somewhere's out in that area, a little bit south of it, I think. It is where a bunch of eucalyptus trees are in the center of the highway. And I think when they're talking about that, that is the center of the state, what they considered on the highway part of going from Northern California to Southern California. That is a center part there that they consider part of it. But the actual geological spot is up by North Fork. Number 45 of back is up on that because he lives up there. And they have a stake up there. It's been geologically done, you know, everything, and there's a stake up there with a red flag on it. It's a little wooded area that they have there just outside of North Fork. I think it's just a little bit south of North Fork right there, kind of a southeast or whatnot. But, you know, Paul, he'll probably confirm it on that there. Come on, Paul, you got backers up here now, come on. But anyway, Ray, go to sleep up there, Ray. Go to sleep, it's cold.
Well, we'll see what, thanks, Chris. We'll see what Paul has to say about that. He's probably going to say the center of the state is probably directly underneath where our next radio is sitting on the desk. SWL 45. Hello, Paul. I'm logging in radio number 4, which is you at 856. And up to North Fork we go. Hello, radio.
Okay, I hope you can hear me on this thing. It's that little radio call TR326.
On the car. Well, I'm certainly going to surmise that you might be on a stock microphonium. In fact, we have a shot maybe of that very radio. Let me switch over to the radio cam and punch that up. Not only does it have the radio, but it's got the microphonium as well. So we'll do a split shot here. It says it's the car TR326 from the collection of Paul SWL 45. And you know, it sounds every bit as good as it looks. Over to you.
It's an old microphone. It's not a microphone. It's a carbon mic. It's stopped with a car radio. Couldn't find any information on it. I'm kind of thinking, I don't know, it might be a Shure. Kind of looks like a Shure mic. They have many different ones out there. This radio is in Sam's number, not in Sam's at all. They got a TR327 in Sam's, but looks like it. Fairly close to it. This one never made Sam's, so I figured the year on this one's 5960. And I think he was selling for about $180. I got that much information on it. And that's about it. Electric Voice Air. Do you recognize that?
No, I don't recognize that. It is a 10-tube radio. Do they have a rectifier tube? That seems like a lot of tubes, and it runs. It tells its age by the fact that it will power up with 170 volt AC, 12 volt DC, or 6 volt DC. Most of the 1963, 62 radios and before will run on 6 volt systems, because a lot of the 1950s cars had 6 volt systems. It says the original price was $179, which is actually up there for a 4-channel radio. It's still working good. I'm assuming you're still using that same, I don't know, it looks like it's kind of a greenish, grayish color microphone going with that thing with all of that.
Yeah, it's very similar to some of the mics. I can't think of what radio is running the thing. Very similar to it. So a wide microphone and a very large face on the thing. Anyway, this particular radio was manufactured in Palo Alto, California, for one of California radios. Like I did, 10 tube in the thing, this little video radio, 10 tubers. And, boy, I'll tell you, that's about it. It's got a pretty for an old radio, it's got a nice meter on the thing, and it's looking like a new one.
Well, from 1960, what have we got, 58 years? Not bad. There's a lot of the cars that might have been installed in are definitely in the rust pile. Go ahead and give me one more transmission before we go to Radio 5, which will be from SWL 25. I'll put up the S meter, and I also want to check, see how that crystal is doing here after 58 years. So I'll give you a frequency report.
Yeah, okay. You can buy a dial, you can increase the wattage or decrease the wattage. Obviously, I'm not going to do it now, but I need all the wattage out. Oh, get 7 on that. That's pretty good. Thanks, Dennis.
I'm impressed. After all that time and all that heat, and who knows what else, you are at 27084.7. So about 300 cycles low. That's not bad at all for a crystal that age. From KAR, K-A-A-R, the TR326, probably their first issue into the Class D radio service from the late 50s through the early 60s, and sounding good. You heard it here first, right? On the Old Tube Radio Network. Thanks for Radio 4, which will take us up to 9 o'clock. And Radio 5, our first radio of the second hour. Hello, Jerry.
Yeah,
Well, hello, Dennis, and my compliments to the Jingle Singers for just going way beyond their scope of work and cleaning up the armchairs, the peanut butter and jam and everything off the chairs. So anyway, it's all's good, and the beer's ice cold, and thank you so much in the green room. Real quick, W6, wait a minute, SWL 25, checking in on a sonar Model G. Back to you.
And Breaker acknowledged. I'm glad I'm not the only one that has to sometimes remember which which band, which microphone, and which radio I'm on to know what I'm supposed to be saying at any particular time. Going over to the radio cam so we can see a picture of a likeness of the Model G. This is a great one. I like this one because it shows the huge microphonium, which they call, not the loaf of bread. The radio would be the loaf of bread. The toast, a piece of toast. I don't know. It's certainly making your audio sound loud, so I'm not going to make fun of it. Over.
You make fun of it all you want, Dennis, and make fun of me too, because I was almost messed up. But anyway, yeah, it is the big old hand-held stock mic for the sonars. That's about 3.5 inches wide, and I'm just talking across the top of it, not talking into it. But yeah, the Model G looks like it's crystal, probably 8-channel, and darn it, guess what? The meter is working. It's working. And anyway, just having fun, Dennis. Anyway, back to you, and thanks for checking it all in.
And that is a loud radio. If you hear the playbacks, you'll. I was showing the S meter. You sound louder than you appear on the S meter. I switched to a different shot that shows the front of the radio close up, and we're looking at the S meter. I notice there is what appears to be a light or illumination under the bezel. So is that how they do it? I don't know. Yours may be burned out. Sometimes that happens. But instead of lighting the meter from the inside, looks like they light it from the outside, or the light comes in the end. That's pretty cool. That's an interesting way to do it. Put the meter under a panel. That's a very mid-century modern way of doing lighting. The Sonar Model G Radio 5, and we've got a breaker where we'll get right to you. But first, let's hear one more transmission off the Model G.
Hey, not a problem, Dennis, and thanks for doing what you're doing, and good to hear you on a Wednesday nights, and back to you.
Back to me in the studio. Thanks, Jerry, for Radio 5. The Jingle Singers are also saying they need to do a top of the hour ID, which we will get to in a moment. But first, the very patient breaking station, who I think would probably like to check in on the SWL side. Go ahead, please. Over.
Yeah, you're right. This is 64.
All right, I'll get up the big list. We'll make SWL 64 green. It says you are checked in, and we appreciate you taking time out of your Saturday evening activities to wave a hand to the Old Tube Radio Network. Thanks. And at 5 minutes after the top of the hour, the Jingle Singers say this.
How do you do? Ladies and gentlemen, greetings to you. Wherever you are, the friendliest station for you by far is known to all as
OTR, the Old Tube Radio Network.
The station for you is
OTR.
And we are looking for radio number 6. And I do hear a 45 over.
It's 45. Can you hear me, I hope?
Yeah, you are beaconing through the Old Tube Radio Network. Over.
Okay. Well, I'd like to check in my Pelco AR-9.
All right, let me run up to the A's on the list, top of the list here, see if we even have anything for a Pelco. And I believe you said you were on the Alfa Romeo number 9. Oh, wow. You are bringing us the cool early 60s radios. Here's another one. I'm going to grab a shot. Another one with a microphone that defies description. The fact that it's even making audio, and it is. It may not be a Buddy bass, but it is checking in on the Old Tube Radio Network, so we will take the extra time. I like that radio. That is maybe not quite as plain as a Gonset or a Johnson, but it's getting there. Radio 6, and we'll go back to you for transmission.
Okay, I'll just close to the mic, that CDK for these old carbon mics. This is not a hardwired mic in this radio, so I could change it, but if it's working, I'm going to leave it stock, because this is a stock mic on the thing. And so the Palco is made by Rayson. That company is still in business. They've been in business since 1922. Because they didn't make all CD radios back there, of course, but they were located in San Francisco. Interesting history on some of these radios. Back to you, Dennis.
Well, I agree with you. A lot of interesting history, and it's very much like the automobile industry was in the early part of, I'm going to say, like the 1920s and the 1930s. And even before that, where you had a lot of different auto manufacturers putting out different styles of cars, electric cars, steam cars. And as, you know, things have it in the world of buying and selling, and you have depressions and mergers, you start losing all the small companies and you come out with just a couple like we have today for, you know, Uniden and whoever else for CB radios. Back in the fun days, late 50s, early 60s, of the radios, everybody getting in on that citizen band radio craze, manufacturers seeing if they could grab some of the market, and here is one of them from Apelco, as you said, also from Raytheon. Where is my info on the Apelco? Not much. CB1, Sam CB1. So you know this has got to be from 1960. I think you will be pleased with the audio, where we're looking at this radio and hearing it at the same time, and I think it's doing well with running stock. There's something to be said about having the right original hubcaps on your on your classic car, right? None of those 26-inch rims. This is the real deal. Over.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's I tell you, there's not a whole say about this radio. It's very plain Jane on the thing, as you see by the picture. No meter, but it does have a flip switch in the middle down there where you're supposed to flip stuff on the microphone. This is one, you don't have to do that, luckily. So, other than that, it's got 3 knobs, no lights at all on the thing. It's supposed to be a modulation up to the right. It's thrown out, I think. Whatever, but it's not working. And that didn't work on that. And see what's going on there. Other than that, it's, well, I think the case is, I believe it's plastic, and it's got very little vent holes in the thing. I wish you had a picture of the side of the thing. But surprisingly enough, it's not warm, real warm. It's comfortable. Before I put my hand on it. It's cold in here. That's about it, Dennis.
All right, well, the tubes don't mind the heat. It's the other items, the capacitors. The resistors don't like too much heat. Capacitors especially don't like heat over time. Transistors, which I'm sure there may not be any in that radio, don't like the heat at all. So you're okay. Well, do the same thing since we've got another 58-year-old radio that's not synthesized but runs the crystals. I'll ask you to give me one more transmission. I'll go ahead and pull up the S-meter cam, and while I do that, I'll check, see if it will do as well as the car TR326 on staying on frequency. So back to you for transmission. We'll check the frequency.
Okay. It's always fun to get back to this room and all time. It helps you a lot more than any car on the thing. That's about it. Look at this, the front page picture eye, and the microphone plug on this one, and that's
All right, it was over adjusting the dial. That one jumps a little around on frequency a bit when it's modulating. If Larry was out there on the SDR, his waterfall would probably have a little bit of waviness to it on the frequency side. This one is high, 27085.6. So you're about 600 cycles high. And the balance between the upper and lower side bands isn't quite as good as the car. The car was right on the upper and lower sideband mix. The AR9, not quite, but still sounding good. And the audio is probably about 60% modulation, so sometimes when I switch over, you don't hear it as well if you were listening on the stream. But that was zero beat at 27085.6. So still hanging in there. It's still within FCC specs after all that time. Thanks for bringing by radio number 6.
You're very welcome. I'll sell for that anytime, the way the questions are. Thanks, Dennis.
And thank you. Let me check the comment pages, which I have to refresh occasionally to get the newest items. Fresno State was trailing a while ago. Waving a hand from Northeast Georgia, CQ, and or Breaker from Mr. Butterbean. Good to have you along here tonight on the Old Tube Radio Network. And we are, is it Jingle Singer time yet? Not quite. We will be listening for radio number 7. Go ahead, over.
Yeah, dogs are really struggling. They're in a real dog fight, 14-10 in San Diego's favor. Doggone it, we've been there in the red zone half a dozen times. We just can't get it across.
All right, well, keep our fingers crossed because this is a game I'm sure they would like to win. And I'm sure San Diego would the same. Thanks for the update. I think that's where my update came from Steve and the Ohio crew. Speaking of Ohio, Benton Harbor, Michigan, the radio we're featuring, let me pull it up on the screen, and I'm not sure which one that is. That might be a HW1. Put on the radio cam here. See if I can't get a good shot of that in the wide screen. A radio that would show up in a box with all the parts in little plastic bags for you to do your thing. Steve saying he was 14 years old when he built this, put switch in, had 4 channels, 112 volt or 110 volt AC and 12 volt DC in a car. There you go, Heathkit. Where did Heathkit go? Heathkit started a lot of people in the radio hobby. A couple of evenings or a weekend or however long it would take after school, keeping it simple, and you would put one together. I'm not sure if we've ever had any of those check in. I know we have the HW, or the GW, I'm sorry, the GW is the 11 meter, the GW 11, the GW 12. I'm going to have to go to our archives and see which, you might know which GW, or if that even has a different Heathkit number for that. Again, we are looking for radio number 7. This might be a radio number 7 right here.
37.
Or indeed, this could be our radio 7 for sure. Hello, Chris.
Hello again, Dennis. This is SWL 37. I'm going to check in another fully stock radio. I'm going to check in my Chris 23 Plus CB transceiver, 23 channel tube that glows in the dark, and we are running this in here with the original handheld stock microphone. Over.
Sounding good for stock radio at 916. And indeed, the radio that's up there now is the CB1. That's what I thought. That's their first Benton Harbor lunchbox style for 11 meters. We'll talk more about that in a bit. Let me dial into our radio at hand from Chris, who is on the Chris 23 Plus. Swapping the picture here, see if I can get a better shot there. Now that I do, take a transmission, sir.
Okay, what do you want? First gear, second gear, third, or fourth?
Probably should, it's an old tube radio, so we probably should start it in first gear and work our way up.
Yeah, well, I bypassed a couple gears. I went up to the 11th gear.
You've got it all the way up to 11. Well, it's still working, and it doesn't sound like the wheels are about to fall off anytime soon.
I hope not. It just keeps on going. That's the good part about it. Got that little red modulation light in here, just modulating like a big time, just blink, 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 blink.
The other good part about it is that is the famous Panasonic chassis with the AM plate modulation that was shared with the Robins and some of the other radio series, 11 tubes. There is an operator's manual at oldtuberadio.com. If you search for it there, can go 12-volt DC, 115-volt AC, and more information on Sam's PhotoFax 45, page 89. But probably everything we need to know is going to come from just keying the microphone. Back to you.
Absolutely, and it works fine every time I key it.
It does. It has not failed you tonight yet at all. Thanks for bringing it by here on the Old Tube Radio Network as I see the jingle singers stepping up to the microphone.
Okay, well, it's been warming up for an hour and 18 minutes, so it's warming up. All right, I'm going to get out of here, and I'll be back with another.
Thank you, sir. The Old Tube Radio Network. Real radios glowing in the dark.
You're listening in the latest style at
27.085 megahertz. Channel 11, Old Tube Radio.
In wonderful
Fresno, California.
37.
And 37 is back, the fastest coax switch in the West. Good evening to Hagerstown, dialing into the Old Tube Radio Network tonight. And Radio 8 is about to take a transmission. Go ahead, sir.
Well, I don't have to switch coax no more. I just flip a switch now. So that works out fine for me. I hope it's working fine for you, too. That's the way it is right now. But anyway, Dennis, I would like to check in my G PowerMate, the Jim Marine Products, 23 channel 2 that glows in the dark. And this is, as you've seen, this is my pretty blue radio here. And we're wearing this here with the amplified D104 Lollipop. What is this here? What is it, TUG8 mic stand or something like that? Our numbers wore off. It's the same as what the other one is over there and the same as that one down there. So, yes, it is a D104 amplified.
Amplified microphonium. May or may not need it, but it sounds good. Apologize for the picture. It's a little dark here. Well, let me dial it in so people can see that this is also from your collection, believe it or not, and I believe this is using the same chassis as the 23 Plus from Panasonic, so it should sound good.
I am hoping. I am hoping.
I don't think you have to worry too much. It's got nice audio, right on frequency, and it's got the pretty blue case. We can only see kind of the front end surround, but it's a nice looking radio because I've seen it.
Yes, sir, that you have.
For radio number 8 on the Old Tube Radio Network tonight. Thanks for bringing it by. Take another transmission. Make that little red TX light do some blinking.
Well, that's the thing about that one. Don't blink. It just, when you key it down, it just gets red. It's just like it wants to blush until it's so happy. It just tickle me red, That's the way it is. When I unkey it, it turns green like, oh yeah, it's all coming back.
All right, well, it's actually doing what it says. It's a TX, showing that you're transmitting, not necessarily modulating. I suppose if you have the S meter set to the RF side, you might see a little bit of wiggle on that.
Yeah, I don't have I've got it set from my receive right now. Let's see. All right.
There it is. It's switched over. Am I still modulating?
You are still modulating. Over.
Okay, yeah, it's swinging up there. It's swinging about a 2-watt swing on it, above wherever it's at there.
As well it should. Looks good on the S meter as well. Radio number 8, the Gem Marine Products G PowerMate, sharing the infamous, very popular Panasonic chassis of the early 1970s. Thanks for bringing it by.
You betcha, Dennis, and I'll be back with another. You can bet that.
I can bet my bottom dollar.
And break OTR.
Oh, this has a definitely different sound. Sounding good. Go ahead, break OTR.
Yeah, okay, Dennis, I am checking in this time here. My Courier Royale, this is a 23-channel tuner that glows in the dark also, but this is one with all the knobs and the blinking lights, and it's even got some hidden knobs in the back for the mic gain. It wasn't enough room in front to put it with all the other knobs, I guess, so, but it's in the back there, plus your tune and load and whatnot, but this in here is the Courier Royale, and like I say, I'm running this in here also with the D104 Lollipop microphone also here. Over.
Johnny, got lots of audio. This was the top of the line, I think the last tube radio from Courier. I saw an advertisement or something somewhere where they said this was the radio they built as if they were making it for the CEO of the company. So it had to have every possible amenity, which it basically does when you look at it. And if you go inside, it also has the Collins mechanical filters, which weren't real popular, at least for 11-meter radios at the time. Obviously, they'd been being used for a long time. And the Collins amateur radios, receivers, transmitters, but Courier managed to secret one inside there, and that definitely helps for your receiving pleasure. It can do 12-volt DC, and it does have 11 tubes. Sounds pretty good. Back to you.
11 tubes for channel 11, huh?
I never thought of it like that. As long as they're all functioning, I think they must be. 6-volt, 12-volt tubes. What was the other thing? Oh, service manual. If you want a service manual, you can go over to oldtuberadio.com and search for one there. It says we have a service manual. But I don't think you need any service. It's just working fine.
Well, that's good. If I don't have to touch it, it makes me happy. Just to turn it on and off, that even makes me happier that it works.
And we're happy that it works, too. That way it will get checked in occasionally here on the Old Tube Radio Network. Radio number 9 at 9:23. Chris is at the microphone of his Courier Royale. A popular radio and a favorite of many. When you ask people, and they're not into the, I've got to have a Browning, I've got to have a Tram, or something like that. This radio comes up a lot, the Courier Royale, as a very close or a very solid second place for if I was going to have a couple of tube radios. This one makes it a lot. So looking good on your collection there. Give us another transmission. Thanks for bringing it by.
You bet, Des. And that was the last of my tubers for tonight. So anyway, I'll be back on my other radio and listening to the rest of the net. So Des, thank you for being there, as always.
And thank you. At 9:25, we have over half an hour to go for checking in your radios, or if you'd like to say hello or get your SWL number up on the list here. We are week 4 out of 8, or anything like that. The Old Tube Radio Network is here for you, standing by. I want to bring up the Heathkit, and it was indeed the radio we were showing earlier. Let me find it. A Heathkit CB1 with the, as Crazy Bob was mentioning, the flush to talk knob. Let me bring the radio cam back up. I was trying to find a price, a kit price on these. And if this is going to be your first radio, $42. There you go, $42.95. You can't go wrong. Did that come with the crystal? I mean, the crystal was $5. It had to come with at least one channel. Are you kidding me? It says it's only got 4 tubes. 1960, of course. Factory wired. For $18, you can get it factory wired. See, that's back in the days where minimum wage was $1.50. So you figure if it took you 15 hours to put the thing together, you were still ahead, right? Rather than pay somebody $18 to put it together for you, plus you miss out on all the fun. It's got a 6A and 8, the RF amp detector. It's got an EC C83, that's the speech amp. The output modulator is a 6AQ5A, which is typical, and a 6AU8 for the final amp. So not bad for 4 tubes. And the fancy knobs, you can probably see yourself in the reflection. And the old style, I call it coaxial connector. I don't know what the real official term is for that style of microphone jack. Heathkit always had it weird. They used RCA plugs for their antenna jacks, and they used what looks like a coax connector for the microphone plug. So maybe that was easier to fit in the chassis or to wire in kit form. I'm not sure. Oh, in fact, I have a rear shot of the radio. Well, it kind of, yeah, see, they're using an RCA jack for the antenna. That was very typical of their items. So if you're running an SO239, PL259, you had to get some type of an adapter or wire up the coax that way. Interesting stuff. You are listening to the Old Tube Radio Network. We are here every Saturday evenings at 27085 in the Central Valley of California, listening for and talking about the classic tube radios. And of recent lateness, last couple of years, also streaming at oldtuberadio.net and trying our best, although sometimes it doesn't work too well, doing a video stream as well. So hello to all those who are listening in, whether it's over the RF airwaves or beaconing in on the Universal Media and your Universal Media NetWeb device, perhaps listening to us live here on November 17th, 2018, or sometime in the future. Hello to you. And thanks, Stan, for the info on the CB1. I would say with 4 tubes, not a super head receiver. Stan mentioning on the CB1 we were just showing. And if you're at oldtuberadio.net, there's the kind of advertisement page out of Heathkit where you could sign up and buy one. Not super head. So probably if you were given whatever crystal it came with, let's say it came with channel 11, and you had someone in your town, I would say in your neighborhood, but it's probably someone in your township keying up on just about any channel, you probably would have heard them quite well. But for $42, a good experience to put it together and get you started to get yet another radio, or maybe to back in the 1960s, get into ham radio or something like that. Thanks, Stan, and good luck in the contest. I'm not sure what contest is on tonight. I quickly tuned in 40 meters earlier this afternoon, and I did hear that. In fact, that was all I heard. I didn't hear the nets or anything like that. I heard a couple of contesters going hot and heavy. So good luck in the contest, Stan. Hope you are getting or giving some points. And speaking of points, let's go over to the other studio at the bottom of the hour here for the Jingle Singers on the Old Tube Radio Network.
What are the magic numbers?
27.085 megahertz, channel 11.
Are the magic letters?
OTR.
Right here in
Fresno, California.
Radio Magic.
Old Tube Radio.
For you.
All right, I'm Stan talking about the Polytronics Polycom Pro and the number of knobs. There's the Polycom Pro. We used to have one of those check in on a regular basis long ago here on the Old Tube Radio Network. I'm going to put a picture of the Polycom Pro. So it had a separate, that's right, it had a separate transmit and receive dial in. What did you count? 10 knobs on that? And the place for you to write your call sign and the channel on the front. Pretty cool radio, top of the line for Polytronics as well. So a lot of great stuff. Again, I always reference these back to like old 1950s automobiles. How much chrome? How big could the fins be? How many little chrome strips and extra things could you place on your car? I think the radios were doing the same thing in the 1960s. OTR looking for radio number 10. Copy, KB6GFD. And Steve, I see why you would have to put in a transmit switch, as they were talking about the flush to talk bar there, the push lever, which actually showed up on a couple of radios back in the early. I think the Hallicrafters had the lever. That seems like it might have made it easier to not careen off the road as you were trying to make a transmission. What we put up with to get on the radio.
Breaker OTR.
Did I detect a breaking station for the Old Tube Radio Network?
Okay, yes you did. Let me turn down the stream. Hang on a second.
You don't like the echo, huh? Well, worse than an echo.
Okay, this is SWL 40 with a tube radio check-in.
A tube radio check-in. How are you going to give yourself a radio check if you don't have the stream up and running? Maybe you are confident enough to know that you do not need a radio check because you are sounding good, and you have gotten us into double digits on the radios here at 9:35. Hello, Larry alias CB Kid, with a radio he's going to tell us about. Go ahead.
Oh, well, maybe I won't tell you. No. Yes, I have a radio here, and it's a CB radio, and it's full of these glowing objects.
Light bulbs? Well, sort of like light bulbs.
Highly inefficient light bulbs. I believe they generate more heat than light.
And that's a good thing, because if they weren't generating heat, you just might not be transmitting.
I wonder what the actual efficiency rating is. A vacuum tube compared to a transistor. You know what the efficiency is of power consumption. Anyways, this is the Gemtronics GTX 5000 40-channel CB transceiver, and it's got a, believe it or not, it has a digital channel display, LED. Who else has a LED display in their old tube CB radio? I don't think anyone here does have one. Back here.
Not too many. That was the 1976-77 thing. I think when they went to the 40-channel radios, and most of them were solid state at the time, they started doing the, like I said, the digital readouts. It was just that it's new. It's that new thing. It's that new 40-channel thing. We don't want that old, have to look through a little square and see a number painted on a rotating dial, right? So there were a few maybe, but well, this between this and the Browning for full tube radios, the DAC was also that, but there's sort of a hybrid. But between the Browning 40-channel and this Panasonic chassis that you're running with the GTX 5000, it was also used in the T240D and the T-Berry T and the Shakespeare and the Colt, etc., etc. That was pretty much it for 40-channel tubes. I don't know who made the Browning. Somebody told me that the 40-channel Browning was actually not made by Browning, but I don't think they were the Panasonic chassis for sure. Sounds good. Corey mentioning that transistors are more efficient than tubes. I don't know if it's between heat dissipation. If you have the same amount of transistors, the same, stack your transistors 6 inches high, how much heat dissipation? Would you have more heat dissipation off the transistors? And is there a optimum operating temperature for a tube? If you can water cool it and bring the temperature down, does that help or does that not help? Or if it gets to a certain point where it actually is too hot and the tube's not as efficient, even though it will... That's where the tubes will win. Go into a 120-degree room with no air conditioning and bring your tube radio and bring your transistor radio and see how well they work. Although there may be an efficiency issue, but I digress. Radio 10 is online. Give us another transmission. And as you can tell on our photo that we have, the channel display is dark because the radio is not on.
Oh, that's a shame. That truly is a shame. And I am watching the YouTube stream right now. And there's a little emblem on my radio between the Fine Tune and the Gemtronics logo at the bottom. There's a little like a extra logo that's been placed up there, and it's made of the same. It's like made of thin aluminum, and it's very interesting. It's just like a little piece of artwork. Not sure how to explain it, but it's very interesting nonetheless.
Look like something that could have been a factory issue in later models, or something modified by a previous owner, do you think?
It looks very nice, like factory. But you know, who knows? The only way to really know is to uncover it, or take it off and see what's underneath it.
I was searching through a few more photos here to see if I could find something similar to what you were referencing, talking about there, but I don't see anything. So maybe you have a one of a kind. I think what I can do, let me say, I might be able to get, since you mentioned it, a radio that's actually on, and then we'll see the illuminated radio dial. There we go. Let me bring it into frame here. And there is one that's actually on, and of course it's on channel 39, but that's okay.
Oh yeah, I see it. Yeah, and and the as I've stated in the past, the microphone is a Turner bass microphone, the Turner Expander 500.
And you have it set up in the communications mode tonight, as I only hear you and nothing going on in the background.
Yes, and now we've successfully, looks like we've successfully confused Corey there.
Well, I think, no, I'm confused. The efficiency, just about everything you do, I mean, especially for broadcasters now, are getting into the high power, even to the TV station, the high power transmitters are using, the banks of the power amplifiers, and just keep plugging in and amplifying and plugging in. There are still, of course, tube amplifiers for amateur radio, but as you see, a lot of the people, Ameritron and a lot of the tube amp companies are coming out with their solid-state versions, which work well mobile. I think probably more suited for mobile applications. Just have to make sure you have the proper power supply. So, guys, so I think it's sort of the what flavor. It's like ice cream. What flavor do you want at the moment? Sometimes you might feel like tubes. Sometimes you might feel like transistors.
Yes. But, yeah. Well, anyways, lots of flavors here in Chinatown. Just about every kind. What else? If anybody needs a soldering iron or anything, or soldering accessories, please contact me later after the program's over. I have many soldering items available for sale.
Great. That might work for your unbuilt Heath kit, or maybe the Heath kit that you want to rebuild. All right, Larry, thanks for Radio 10 putting us into double digits there with the GTX 5000. Stan mentioning his Polycom Pro didn't have a Collins filter, but it had a Q multiplier. My first foray into a Q multiplier came, I had my Elmer Ham back when I was in high school. He lent me a SX, and I think it was an SX99 or an SX101 Helicopters receiver. And I really, back 15 years old, I didn't know much about nothing. So it had a Q multiplier on it. I think it was a Heathkit Q multiplier that he had wired in. And there was no documentation on it. But I remember I just spent hours playing with that thing and working it and finally figuring out, it does this and it does that. And, it works better on CW probably, but good old Q multiplier. So I'm very surprised that the Polycom Pro had a Q multiplier. Did that come standard, or was that an add-on thing? And then you mentioned the HE, was it Lafayette HE15? Not sure if I can find a picture of that. We'll see. Anyway, OTR will be standing by Radio 11, and the Jingle Singer's coming up. Oh, good. I do have a picture of an HE15. Let me... Wow, that looks a lot like... That's interesting. It looks a lot like the other radio we had. I wonder if they were made by the same people. Let me pop up the HE15. Maybe we would have theme nights. Who's good with theme nights is Cliff. Checking in the Halloween radios and the Thanksgiving radios and the Christmas radios. I mean, we have a theme night where it's like, if you've got a magic eye, and we've done that before, we've done the magic eye night. Maybe we should do the, what do you call that? Transmit lever, the flush to talk night. I'm not sure if I've ever checked in an HE15. And is that tunable? What does it say about the HE15? It doesn't say anything. CB1, page 73. And CB13, page 81. Why would it be in both of those? Did they reissue that, I wonder? Or maybe it's this, like I said, it's the same chassis under a different name. But there you go. And then Steve said he wired in a transmit switch. I'm assuming that was something that didn't allow you to have to hold the bar down or whatever while you were driving, making things a little bit easier and or safer. Speaking about easier and safer, the Jingle Singers have this to say about your favorite Saturday night place to be.
Let's do some spelling.
OTR. 27.085 megahertz. Channel 11, Old Tube Radio. Old Tube Radio.
And you are right, Corey. Those some of those amplifiers, talking about the price of tubes and who's making them now. Is it the 8950? That's the one. Somebody had the 8950 was the tube that was in. I want to say it was the Siltronics. Swan Siltronics. Back in the day, it was $10, no big deal, and now it's like $90 or something. That was one of the tubes. Sweep tubes were a dime a dozen. Well, not quite, but. Because every television had a sweep tube. You got the sweep tube amps, pretty cheap. And no television had sweep tubes. All of a sudden, the tube prices went way up. What's the ones they're still using a lot? 12AX7, the audio tube, 6146s, things like that. People running the tube audio gear. Keeps the prices down. Or no, I'm sorry, it keeps the prices reasonable. Prices never come down. Also, while I got the microphone here and I'm blathering, the Sheriff of Nottingham peeking into the Radio Shack tonight. And good morning. Good evening, you all. He's been reading his book on how to talk to the states. Big Ben, you are sounding and looking good here on the Old Tube Radio Network. And you have not missed checking in. We will put the big X in the square for the sheriff tonight.
I think the 8950 was a couple of tubes in the Swan 500.
Yeah, there were some amps that used that as well. But someone was telling me they're really hard to find and they're very expensive. They ain't $10 anymore.
And if you don't have that bias set right in the back, they blow very easily.
And a lot of local stations listening to the very intense, close Bulldog game ending nearing the end of the third quarter, where the score is 14-7. That the Bulldogs at 17. I'm sorry, 14 to 17. So somebody's made a field goal somewhere there. Well, I was going to say, if the Old Tube Radio Network is going to lose out to something happening, it might as well be a very interesting Bulldog game.
Well, the Dogs score was 10-14. They came back and made 7. Now San Diego's threatening. They're on the Bulldog 30 and looking to either a field goal, 3rd and 5, either field goal or run it in for 7. Field goal would tie them up.
Yeah, they just wanted to get close enough here. Well, I want to always try to stay neutral on the sports things, because that could lead to trouble. But I will just quickly put up the Battling Bulldog, which is the Fresno State mascot. And we are looking for Radio 11. And thanks, Dan. Yeah, the ICO 760. We have one of those locally that checks in. I think it's a 762. Let me put that up. 762K. Who is that? Dwayne has that, that radio. So, you know what? We might have enough. We actually just might have enough to do locally here, to do a theme night on the Flush to Talk radios. At least 3. I think what would be a quorum? Usually if we do Magic Eye Night, we really need to get 3 of them to make sense. So I think that would be an easy thing to do. Pull out your... That's the other thing. The Magic Eye radios also... Is it all the cool stuff stopped in 1963? They took out the Magic Eyes. They took out the push-to-talk levers. Although the radios got better. They started adding things that people wanted, like all 23 channels and big S meters and things like that. So you just never know.
Late check-in.
This is the frequency for your late chickens. Let's see. Let me go to the SWL list and go way to in fact, the top row. And we will put 7 and make it so. Over.
Thank you, sir. Hope everything has been going good for you tonight.
Yeah, we're doing good. I guess there is a Bulldog game that is a nail-biter going on, keeping everybody away from the Radio Shack tonight, which is okay. And we are up to 10 radios. A lot of early, cool-looking stuff as well. Oops, and there's me. Thanks.
Yes, I made the mistake of driving by Bulldog Stadium earlier, not knowing about the game, and it was a real pain to get by.
Well, if you went early... Oh, is the game here? I was thinking it was in San Diego.
Well, I don't know. There's something going on over there. There's lights and stuff everywhere.
Oh, all right. Well, if it isn't, there's always the Save Mart Center and everything else that goes on there. Yeah, I've had that happen as well, where Shaw Avenue is pretty much a bad thing to be on near the campus.
Yeah, lights and all kind of stuff along Cedar there, going along by the stadium. So yeah, it's full up.
I don't know how they coordinate that. If you could have a double whammy, it's a Saturday night where you have a game going on and you also have something going on at the Save Mart Center. That would be pretty nasty.
Oh man, traffic would be here. Oh, that'd be terrible.
That's when you exit out the back way, but I think even maybe they won't let you do that out on Barstow or over at Chestnut or wherever it comes out.
Next week I may be having a new radio.
New radios are nice. You have always your check-in, your last-minute check-in has actually made someone happy that they weren't. Big Ben was afraid that he might have been our last check-in of the evening. So, it was like that last person in line, and you look behind you, think, I'm the last person in line. You look behind you, and there's somebody behind me. So there you go. Well, that will be interesting to check out on. I'm going to surmise that it might be one of those multi-frequency items.
Yes, it is.
All right. I sort of got out of the mode of keeping up with everything, and I've sort of been getting the bug again, and QST, actually, I've got to renew my QST. They stopped coming. That's a good way to find out what radios are happening. There is just a lot of cool stuff out there.
Yes, there is, and amazingly enough, there's a lot of nice stuff in the software-defined radio.
And they're doing it right, and they've done it long enough where they're getting good marks, as it were. It's like you're not the beta tester anymore for that. And like electric automobiles, a lot of the manufacturers are now embracing the SDR things and sticking them in the radios. So you can't go wrong.
Well, not only that, but you have multiple options that were in like multiple different boxes and units that are now all contained into one radio.
Yeah, I remember the first, was it the FT100? When are we talking? Late 90s, 2000s, when the first little dinky radios came out, and I said, like, wait a minute, you've got HF, you've got 2 meters, you've got 6 meters, you've got 440, it's all in one radio. That's a good thing and a bad thing in a way, but, and you look at the size of the box and the price is like, there's no way you could buy individual radios for anywhere close to that.
Oh, exactly. Touch screen, all kinds of good stuff on there where you can adjust multiple filters, bandwidth, and all kinds of crazy stuff. So, yeah, they're really changing the world of radio.
And we're not abandoning the old tube radio network theme here, because both Ed and I, although we may be into more of the modern radios, have a whole table full of the tube stuff, so it's fun as well. It's nice to be diversified. Some people get into it's AM only or it's tube only, and that's a good thing. Some people say, I'd never have those tubes anymore, and sometimes you can just kind of have this side of the room and that side of the room, and depending on how you feel. Man, it's 10 o'clock already. Jingle singers are up and at 'em, waving the hand, but I want to, and let me find that Polycom Pro again. We were talking earlier about Q multipliers, and I got to see that. I mean, you have piqued my interest. Maybe that's why there's so many knobs on it there. It says there's a Q multiplier. I'm going to put it back up on the... Boy, that I didn't know that. I mean, that is a really interesting... You just wonder why the manufacturer didn't do more of that. Maybe it's just there wasn't interest, or it was, it was... I don't want to say it was over the heads of the operators, because that's obviously it wasn't, but really cool to have something like that in on your radio. Thanks, Stan. I'll look at that.
Well, I feel bad for wanting to check in a radio that doesn't have a touch screen. I don't think anywhere on this radio you're going to find SDR printed on there. Man, I'm even more embarrassed. There's only one band on this radio. I feel very inferior.
Well, this is the right place to come to not feel inferior, because for the last 34 years we've been encouraging those stations that may only be tube operated, may have the SDR radios, but there's the tube radio, the wobbly tube radio card table in the corner that you have to put the tarp over when your friends come in to play with the SDR radios because you're embarrassed. This is the pull the tarp off the card table and do not be embarrassed to check in your tube radio. You have come to the right spot. Over.
I'm sorry, but I think I actually had one of those wobbly card tables. After all these years, I've never heard you say something like that. I don't know if a wobbly card table could sustain this radio that I'm on right now. It's a Browning R27S23. A rather large, I think it's, well, yes, it is the largest radio in my collection, my meager collection. I don't know how much this weighs, but, well, it would definitely occupy quite a bit of real estate on that square card table that I think everyone had in at least the 70s, I know for sure.
I'm trying to think. My first big official radio table, I think it wasn't a card table. It was one of those horrible dining room tables. It wasn't the real kind of mid-century modern ones. It's just like the bad versions of that. It's wobbly just because they're bad. I think that's what it had the Formica top. That was my first radio table. And then you had to build the shelves, the wooden shelves, to start stacking your radios, because they're all the tube stuff and it's heavy. So yes, be not afraid to bring in the cool looking radios. In fact, we'll swap from the Polycom Pro, which we were checking out, the Q multiplier, the peak and all there, to the R27 S23, the original Eagle with the addition. I always put the disclaimer that Michael does not have the extra little box here called the 180. He is running his radio stock, but this is a nice in the shack picture, which I like to set up. So back over to you.
Oh yes, yeah. You and I spoke about that a few weeks ago. The third box, I guess, in this collection. No, this is perfectly legal. I've been cursed in life. I always play by the rules, even when it comes to my detriment. I still do that, but hopefully it sounds okay. I'm speaking to you on this radio with my favorite mic. I did when I purchased this radio. I had a Turner Plus 2, which was an amplified mic, and it never ever felt good to operate. I think the lock-to-talk bar, I accidentally pushed that, and it was really light. There was no trigger pressure needed whatsoever to operate that. But I used that for a while. I don't know what the audio sounded like on that compared to this one, but this is the unamplified banana mic, and this is 1,000 times more pleasurable to operate. Got a decently weighted stand, that metal stand that you can obviously pull the microphone out of. It's essentially straight, but there's just something about it that I guess ergonomically it works out for the radio. I think besides this microphone, I think the other just awesome feature that I like about this guy is it's got on the transmitter, it's got these, what is it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's got these 5 little perforations, I guess you'd say, on the side of the transmitter, the right side of the transmitter, that one could actually put their FCC license into, just in case the black van pulled up in front of your house and wanted to inspect your equipment. I always thought that's cool. eBay, if you're watching on there, you can still see those original cards going up, but unfortunately, none of them have my name or address on them.
That's the way it gets lost. Maybe you better. If it gets lost, you want it to be returned to you. I swapped the photo to a less than stellar shot of an advertisement from S9 magazine, 1966, when I think the final run of this radio, 64, 65, 66, then the Golden Eagle came out, but it's showing the banana microphone in with the mobile radio called the Raven, as you were talking about it, so people can see how it should look if you stack them side by side with the microphone that came with it. It sounds good. It's fun to use. It's, Browning did what Browning does best, and they just kept doing it. And like an automobile, every few years they would change the grill and change the insides and do a few things and make you want to buy the newest one. Yours, not sure, you probably could tell by the serial number when it was made, but it's doing a good job. What I was going to click on that. There we go. 1964, 300, and they were not cheap. $359 transmitter receiver combination. I guess you could buy them separately. I'm pretty sure you could buy the receiver separately if you wanted to. And I think we've determined that yours is the Series 2 because it has the neon modulation indicator that winks at you.
Oh, yeah. And forgive me for asking, you can hear me, I'm assuming?
Yes.
Okay, good. I got to say, on that radio, which is obviously I'm not on anymore, I don't know if I've ever mentioned this, but that banana-style mic, there was always something that was kind of familiar about it to me, and I never could quite place it. But now that I've put it in its cradle and I'm kind of staring at it, that microphone has it's got these lines through at least the bottom half of it. It almost I guess it's called the banana-style mic. If you could imagine someone taking a banana and like cutting it with a knife into segments, it almost looks like a Tootsie Roll. I think that's exactly what it was. I was at Fresno Ag a few hours ago, and I bought a big Tootsie Roll, and that gosh darn, I don't even know what, that sugary mass of whatever it is, was actually sliced up extremely similar to that microphone. So I don't know if you want to make a comment, bananas to Tootsie Rolls, but there it is. Unlike the microphone I have right now on this Robin T123.
Well, I was chuckling. I don't know if I make a comment. You're talking about going to Fresno Ag to buy a Tootsie Roll. I used to work there long ago, and at the old store, the other store, not the old store, not the old store. And I don't remember that we ever had Tootsie Rolls. What we did have was a soda pop machine back when the bottles, and one of my jobs was to actually fill the thing up. Open the back door, and we got these crates of 7-Up and root beer and whatever, the bottles. And my job was to fill up the soda machine. And it was 10 cents. And we had people coming in. It was the only place in town. This was the late 70s. The only place in town that still had a 10-cent soda machine. And people would drive over to the store and just buy a soda and leave because it was 10 cents. Of course, and I don't even think they charge you for the deposit because people were supposed to leave the bottle in the little crate, and then I'd have to take the bottles back, and we had to ship the bottles back. But I was busy, especially during the summer. I don't know how I got off on this subject. Tootsie Rolls and Fresno Egg. Filling that machine because it was 10 cents. So it was just constant filling the machine up because it was an old machine, so it would only have each little rack. You maybe would hold 10 bottles, and the next rack would hold 10 bottles. And it's like, yeah, they're buying 7-Up today. So enough about Fresno Egg and Tootsie Rolls. I have no idea what I'm supposed to be commenting on except for the fact that you are, you know what I missed? No, you were Radio 11 with the Browning R27S23. You're Radio 12 with, and I'm glad you said, oh, you know what? That's what I forgot. You're on the 123, which has the Magic Eye. Are you Magic Eyeing over?
Yes, definitely. Yeah, this was the first radio in my collection, which I'm sure I've mentioned a plethora of times. First radio in my collection simply because of that Magic Eye tube. What is it? A 6RE13. I always get the two tubes that I own confused, but that was the main drawing feature for this radio for me. Was the Magic Eye. It's kind of a vertically mounted tube. It illuminates from a bar coming down from the top and up from the bottom, almost like stalactites and stalagmites closing in on themselves. Every time you speak into it, I absolutely love that feature. I was distraught. I saw this exact radio on eBay. I was watching it, and I think it sold early, or the auction ended early. I was distraught, and lo and behold, Dr. Harvey wound up with it, and I bought it off of him. So I'm certainly glad that I eventually wound up with it.
We are glad that somebody here in the Central Valley wound up with it. And that's good because we share the radios here on Saturday. So when one of our great collectors here within the range of my receiver picks up something on eBay or wherever they get it, you all out there, you all win because we have the greatest collectors that will take time out of their Saturday evenings at some point during the year, during the week, during the month, and put the radio on the air so that we can beacon it across the universal media net web for all to hear and get excited about. I had one of those. I have one of those. It's, mine's better. Yours is better, whatever. So thanks for that. Radio 12, the Robin T123. I have switched the shot to show the correct radio. And that is our first Magic Eye tube. We were talking about themes. And we often do the Magic Eye theme where I think if we can get 3 radios, we sort of themed things out. And I think our new theme might be, or another theme might be the radios that have the push-to-talk lever. I think we have enough of them around here to get a 3-radio quorum. So you're sounding good on the Robin T123, over.
No, thank you. And I'm ashamed to go back to this subject. Was that soda machine? Was that like in the middle of the shop? Kind of where, I guess in the middle there was like an office that was kind of up above the floor level. Was that soda machine up against that kind of the center of the shop?
You are absolutely correct. It was against, I guess it would be the north side facing out that way, and it was the front part of that. You walked up the little 4 or 5 stairs, and that was the office where you had to, if you wanted to talk to somebody in the office. And if you walked around the back side, the very back side were the restrooms, and then the side was the manager's offices and things where you went when you got in trouble or whatever. But that's exactly where the machine was.
Okay, so every time I was drugged over there when I was really, really, really little, I used to pay attention to that soda machine. I don't remember ever having the privilege of getting a soda out of there, but I remember paying attention to that on my way back, straight back into the store, to the electronics, or I guess the electric department, where I was always fascinated by the old flicker bulbs that they used to sell, and I think they even had a couple on display there, those delightful old flicker bulbs which is kind of disturbing because back then I liked that, the flicker bulbs, and now I'm doing Magic Eye Tube. I think there's something in me that hasn't changed in many, many years, being enchanted by strange illuminations.
And you know what that sound means. We're going to have some more illuminations here, so we're going to extend the Old Tube Radio Network out just a few more items. You are Radio 12, and one more thing I was reminded about, since we're talking about the non-existent soda machine, because everything was stored out in the warehouse. The drinks were in these crates in the warehouse. They were not refrigerated. So as I often, 3 or 4 times a day was filling up the machine, I was grabbing these sodas that were from the warehouse. Of course, the warehouse is 90 degrees. So what would happen is and the soda machine, of course, is refrigerated, but you put in the drinks, the bottles, and they're warm. So people started complaining, and they'd go up to the front, this drink is warm. My 10-cent soda is warm. So then it became my job, after I put the sodas in, to leave a note saying that be advised that the Dr. Pepper and the 7-Up were filled at 12:07, whatever, and that they may be warm. But nobody ever complains about an Old Tube Radio being warm. I'll go back to you for a comment, and then I do believe we have a station that is ever so glad that you have taken us overtime.
Oh my God, so even back then we had the crabby people. Be grateful for what you got. Okay, I'm excited. There's another radio coming up. I'll stand by and listen to it.
All right, let me go to the fuzzy integrated webcam just to show people that I am here and the Radio Shack still exists. And the station out there that appears to have some type of a Browning radio. Would you like to be Radio 13? Over.
Okay, I'll be 13. Number 20 on R68 T68 Browning with the custom D104, with the medallion on the back of the D104. Was that Coke machine one where you opened the top up? It was, what do they call it, a coffin, and you opened the top?
No, it was not. That was because those, you didn't have to pay money. I think you would open the top and you would pull the drink out, and then you would take it up to a front desk. Now, they might have had that in an older store before I worked there, but this was one of the stand-up machines, like the old cigarette machines that have the legs, and it had a glass door. I think it had a door on the front. I want to say it had a glass door on the front to keep because it was refrigerated. And you'd open the door, you'd put in your money, you'd open the door, and you put the dime in, you'd open the door, and it would release the mechanism for whatever the bottle you wanted to pull out. And then you had to pull the bottle out. It was stacked vertically. I'm sorry, the bottles were stacked horizontally, and you'd pull the bottle out, and the next bottle would slide into place.
Oh, okay. Yeah, for a long time I was looking for the coffin ones where you open the lid and the bottles were hanging there in kind of a zigzag S shape. And when you loaded it, you had to slide them in and move them to the back when you filled it up. Customer would come by, open it up, slide one out, close the lid, and on the front, I think left side, there near the top, there was a bottle opener, and you'd open the bottle with it, and then the cap would fall down into a little compartment that was sitting below it. And then you'd clean that out at the end of the day, whatever. I was hoping it was one of those machines. I love those machines.
Yeah, I remember there was a liquor store. It wasn't a liquor store, but it was a general store where I grew up, down in Southern California. And that's way young. I remember that's the kind they had. You opened the lid and you pulled the thing out and the bottle opener was there, but you had to take it up to pay for it. And then you were paying the deposit, which was either 1 cent or 2 cents, I think. And then you would bring back the bottle and they'd give you your penny back.
Oh, yeah. Oh. Okay. Well, I'll let you and Mike Beck get back to it there.
I just came in here. I've got a little heater going, and when I came in the room, it was 61 degrees, and I turned the heater on. And now it is 58 degrees. I got a great heater.
It's a negative heater. Maybe the radios are sucking up all that heat so they would work a little bit more efficiently. Quickly, I put up for anyone wondering, this is the Old Tube Radio Network. We occasionally talk about tube radios. There's the R68 T68 from a advertising photo that shows the speaker on the banana-style microphone with it. That is what Harvey is running for our Radio 13 tonight. Thanks for braving the Radio Shack tonight. The jingle singers are breathing down the proverbial studio glass here, so let me switch over to the Studio B so they can do their thing.
You're tuned to
OTR. Channel 11.
right here in
Fresno, California.
Stay with us
Old Tube Radio.
and be modern.
And we are counting and amounting. Right, back in the air chair, the Old Tube Radio Network, going to, what do they used to say on the AM, on the boat anchor, guys? Tie the ribbons on it? I don't know. That's. And they want to say that. We're going to, anyway, wrap it up here. See what we did on the radios and the SWL sides. Stan, I'm going to check out that picture of the Polycom. I'm a member of, or I'm in that Antique CB pre-1977 Facebook page. I do believe I have status on there and I can see stuff. So I'll look for that. Say hello to all the stations who are staying up late again with us tonight. Hello, Las Vegas, tuning in. Fresno, Maryland, Colorado. Oakland. If only we could have the backscatter. We've got Virginia, New Jersey, New York, Georgia. The sun's coming up in Nottingham Forest. And we've got 13 radios to talk about. We had 10 SWLs check-in on page 1, 14 on page 2, 13 on page 3, and 15 on page 4 for a total of 52. We are in week 4 of the 8-week roster. If you're playing the home beam and want to make sure you're putting the X's in the right column, that I often sometimes make mistakes doing that, but it looks like I did okay this time. Most heard manufacturer tonight. It was one of those anything goes, and then the General Radio telephones were looking pretty good, and then right at the last, we got a couple of Brownings checking in. So Browning Laboratories with 3. Not a runaway by any means. General Radio telephone Super MC11, starting things off from Paul. Good audio. It had the whooshing, the weird oscillating, not oscillating, but it had the noise in there. So check that out. if you listen to the archives, but we could hear your voice just fine. And it's always good to have a Super MC11, very rare. Radio number 2, the Browning Golden Eagle Mark III SSB from SWL 25. I have operated that radio a few times. We have done net control from that radio at that location. So I like that. Radio number 3, the General Radio Telephone Super MC11A. The upgraded version from Chris for Radio 3. Radio 4, Paul on the car, KAAR TR326. I have talked to a couple stations. There's a guy in North Dakota, I think it is, that runs on 10 meter AM a car 333. He was mobile out in a shopping center somewhere waiting for his wife to come back to the car and was running mobile out of a car TR333 way back when. I'd have to check my log, but they do sound good wherever they might be on the AM, in the AM mode of operation. The Sonar Model G, very loud on the stock microphone for Radio 5. Thanks, Jerry. Paul on his Apelco AR9, kind of prepping for our push bar to talk night. The Chris 23 Plus, Radio 7 from Chris, and then he gave us the Gem Marine Products G Power Mate for Radio 8, the Courier Royale for Radio 9, Larry on the Gemtronics GTX 5000, the only radio tonight to come out that would have a 40-channel selector, but tubes, and not a hybrid. I do believe the Gemtronics is not a hybrid radio. Radio 11, Mike on his Browning Eagle R27 S23, followed by the Robin T123, our one and only Magic Eye radio tonight, radios 11 and 12, and Radio 13. Lucky Radio 13, the Browning Golden Eagle R68 T68. We make any final comments here as necessary. The Pop Shop. Oh, Ray, the Pop Shop up on, I don't know how many there were, but it was up on Gettysburg, or on Blackstone near Gettysburg. And I know that because one of the first jobs I had at a video production house here in Fresno, and that would have been the mid to late 70s. That was a big client, the Pop Shop. They did all their own local ads. They were very good about using local companies to do television ads. So thanks, Ray. I forgot about the Pop Shop. That is no longer there. I think it's a car dealer now. All the good stuff. All the good stuff. That's why we're here. The good stuff in radios to kind of relive and remind us of a much simpler time where we all had all had our doubts we would make it, but here we are. It's 2018, and we're still going. The radios are still going, and we thank you. 73, everybody. Thanks to SearchLawrence.com and Frodex for keeping the Nixie tubes running. Thanks to all of you for keeping us running. The Old Tube Radio Network is saying have a great holiday weekend, or holiday week coming up with Thanksgiving. Hopefully you can do something that you will be thankful for, or remember those things that you are thankful for. And as far as I know, we'll be meeting back here on the air next Saturday at 8 p.m. Good night, everybody.
Good night. Good night.
Thanks a bunch, Dennis.
And good night to all.
Is it over?
And good night to those on the video stream. Sorry about the fuzziness. It's just the YouTube channel does not allow me to go HD on that one camera. Probably a Google Chrome setting that I will hopefully figure out sometime. Good night, everybody.
That breaker for fuzziness, go ahead.